All treats and no tricks in this edition of First and Finest. I'm Russ Eisenstein. Welcome back inside my kitchen/dining room in my mansion in the Plains. Coming up, we'll visit with Mike Mitchell, a long interview with Mike Mitchell, and we thank him for his time, former Bobcat player that went on to the NFL, and he's imparting his wisdom on all things football and all things beyond football. It'll be a two-parter with the draft pick of the Oakland Raiders, who went on to great success, obviously, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, so that will be fun. We'll hit the links with Peyton White, who went to the NCAA Regionals and trying to matriculate up the ranks in professional golf as well. But first, we know that in First and Finest, we talk about all things first and all things finest. And the sports administration program at Ohio University is most certainly first, and it is the finest. Ohio Athletic Director Julie Cron visits with the new director of the sports admin program at Ohio University, Matt Cacciato.
Matt, hello, and welcome to First and Finest. It's great to see you.
Great to be with you today, Julie, and really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, as you know, we are trying to connect over to campus a little bit in some of our content. And I think no corner of campus has better news to share and celebrate than your program. Congratulations on your #1 ranking in the world, back on top.
Yeah, it was great news, and we're pleased that the good people at sportbusiness.com, which is the ranking agency that really runs the research and puts this study together, has committed themselves. This is the 9th year that they've held the rankings, and fortunately, 7 of the 9 years we've ended up in the top spot. And the 2 years that we didn't, we were close behind in second place. So it's great company to be with in terms of the universities that they measure. And again, we're really proud of it.
Well, as I said, congratulations. You should be very proud of it. It's you guys with your #1 ranking, and Frank Solich with his run of bowl appearances. I think those are a couple of the longest streaks running on campus, and we appreciate the partnership we've experienced with you. It's a program that has such a rich and tremendous history, so many great alums that have come out of the program. Maybe for those who aren't as familiar, if you would give us a snapshot and talk a little bit about the program's origin, but also where you are today and the things you're emphasizing at a time that clearly is evolving. I think it's even more impressive that you've remained at the top of the game and the top of the rankings.
Yeah, well, this is our 54th year, Julie. So we are, the oldest program, master's program in existence, and really, the origins of the program, started with industry, looking, to academia for some help more classically training students to work in, the sports environment, and particularly Walter O'Malley. This really is the brainchild of Walter, as the owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And he wanted, the employees more classically trained, and we were fortunate to, be part of the audience that he pitched and saw the opportunity. So some early pioneers here at OU secured this for us, and we really haven't looked back. We're still involved with the O'Malley family. Walter and his prowess is well known, but he was an innovator in so many different ways. So here we are, 5+ decades later, and we've been able to fuel every part of the industry. There's so many silos, whether it's collegiate, professional sports, the agency side, measurement, academia. Certainly, we've created a lot of PhDs and classical academic researchers. So we've taken a great idea and been able to actually build it and maintain it. Most importantly, 54 years later.
Well, it is quite a rich history and a rich record, and alums of the program are literally the who's who of the sports industry. We are fortunate enough to have a few of your alums working full-time in our department. We have 4 others who are enrolled through the executive program, which I know has come along more recently and also is a great tool for those in the industry, a great program. And then we have 10 graduate assistants this year from your program. I brag about them all the time and talk about the fact that not only are they the best and the brightest, but many of them come in as GAs ahead of others who are in entry-level positions, around the country. So maybe talk a little bit about what does it take to become a member of your program. It's highly selective. How do you put together the classes who have the opportunity to study with you?
So the recruiting process really is always on. It literally, like any major Division I program, like Frank and his staff, or Jeff, and Bob, in terms of their programs at OU, we're always recruiting. We're always having conversations. It is aided by the size of our alumni base. We have 2,000 alums of the master's program. Not to mention the fact that we've got a large undergraduate program as well as two online programs that operate year round. So we do some outbound recruiting, Julie, and we have our eyes on various pipelines that we've developed with particular universities and really particular functions as well. So the SAC opportunities that are provided to undergrads to be involved in the administration of athletics as athletes is a great proving ground for us. The NCAA and their postgraduate program has been a pipeline. There's certain scholarship programs like McClendon is a scholarship program that honors the first Black coach in Division I basketball, John McClendon. We've had 11 McClendon scholars come to our program. And then our alums, they love what they do. They've got long, successful careers, and they love that it started here in Athens. So we do get a lot of inbound traffic as well for recommended students. And then there is a competitive application process that really focuses on their vision for themselves, their personal statement, how they performed in the classroom, and then more importantly, what they've done, in the workplace, whether it's internships over the summer or things that they've actually studied and in some instances published as an undergrad, in academia.
Matt, one of the great strengths about the program, I think, has been its ability to adapt as well to new developments within the industry, one of which recently has been around gambling and gambling education. I know we are entering into a partnership with US Integrity that has been involved with your program in developing a gambling education platform. What would you like to share about that program?
Yeah, so we built a course called Sports Gambling Education, and people can learn about it at sportsgamblingeducation.com. We were fortunate to get that URL, and it really allows us to be a little more nimble and modern in standing up what we think are relevant and growing topics for the industry. And sports gambling certainly has that position. Our course is intended to really educate those about all the ramifications and all of the intersections that sports gambling potentially has in the states that have certainly approved it. We're kind of seeing the blueprint, develop, and then those that we expect will come online. There's going to be so many people involved, whether they've ever placed a bet or contemplated betting or not. It is a business and it has operating functions like any other mature business. So whether it's accounting or finance or legislation, lobbying, it's not just the actual placing of the bet and the winning or losing, but the operation of the overall entity. So we tried to build the course that could educate people at all levels. Collegiate, compliance administrators, professional organizations that might be working on new partnerships that they formed, with the sports gambling, industries. The sponsorship side of it has really been explosive, and it's a new category. So again, it's much more intricate than the simple function of placing a bet and or winning or losing. It's really operating it on a day-to-day basis. And we hope to do more. Name, image, and likeness could be a course that we stand up in the executive education silo. We're also thinking about a facilities course with our title sponsor here, AECOM. This is one of the top architectural construction and management firms in the world, clearly a global player, but really has a specialty in the sports environment. We're thinking about a facilities and operations course with them. So it allows us to grow in a way that we traditionally have been restrained, and that is that executive education, certificate-based education.
Which is really where I think a lot of higher education is looking in terms of not only ways to increase resources on our campuses, but also because I think you're seeing an evolution of the college-going population. It's not as much trending toward growth in the traditional college age generation, but rather you see a lot more lifelong learning, lifelong career-long certifications that I think people are interested in. So I'm excited you guys are heading in that direction. I know we have already benefited from it here in our department. I think another thing that we're benefiting from is the Candid Conversations series that I know you're quite proud of, and you have several alums and students who are involved in not only driving that, but also participating. Maybe share with us a little bit about why that's so important, particularly at this time, and how it reflects the values of the program.
It's really been amazing to see how our alumni have reacted, to us, and knowing that we're here and studying and managing first the pandemic, and then obviously the racial and social inequities and injustices that are unfolding in front of us. So to have alumni at the ready to help these conversations, not only to help our students process the difficulty of these times that we're faced with, but also to educate others. And our student organization here, much like any program on campus, we've got a student managed and run organization with different subcommittees that are working on some of these topics. So early on, it was managing COVID and understanding implications on the revenue and the operations, and again having a two-way dialogue with our alumni. And now it clearly has I would say evolved into the issue we're faced with now on the social and racial front. These candid conversations invite alumni back in a Zoom environment and allow us to open it up to various constituencies around campus, as well as our alumni, to hear from Black alums that have their own experiences from when they were in undergrad or here in Athens in our grad program, or now currently in the workforce, and to take some of the discomfort of the conversation away, and knowing that it is it's critically important for us as a society to move forward. And it's just an opportunity to gauge and hopefully have an impact and continue to educate people on these difficult topics.
So I appreciate also your generous invitation to our student athletes and staff to participate in that. I know many of them will take you up on the offer, and I applaud the effort also. I think it's really important for all of us to stay connected with our alumni, but particularly to do so beyond just the traditional university connection or the transactional university connection. And I think that will be really great programming. I look forward to you continuing. Speaking of Wasserman, which you did, the other new development for you is a relationship with them around the collective that I'm interested in hearing more about as well. And as you know, we're a big fan of Dr. Heather Lawrence Benedict here in the athletic department. She has been a mentor to a lot of our student athletes, and I know she's front and center with the collective. So tell us a little bit about that initiative. I know you're excited about it as well.
Yeah, this announcement just came out this week, and it's something that Heather has been working on with a number of high-end academic researchers. And again, Heather is a great and well-respected researcher and publisher of academic content. But on the practical side, she's got a lot of successes in, integrating and, developing, business plans with research, for groups like CrossFit. Economic impact studies specifically for some of the world championships that they've held. And this just takes it to the next level, working with Wasserman and, again, other academic institutions across the country that they've recognized. It's a series of 10 different projects. Heather's going to be leading a research project with some of our grad students. And all of the work, regardless of what project, is focused on developing women's sports and really, bringing it to the next level, using this moment in time and the success that, women's athletics have enjoyed over the last decade or two, and elevating that by marrying it with brands and marketing budgets, and tackling real problems and opportunities that exist for women's sports now in terms of growing them to the next level. So the collective is meant to be a think tank, but with practical outcomes that can be put into play in markets, so we can start to see a continued growth for women's sports, and in terms of how it's supported from a fan standpoint, from a brand standpoint, sponsorship, advertising, media coverage. It really is a lot of people putting their shoulder behind bringing our female athletes to a higher place.
Matt, I thank you so much for your time and for sharing with us all the great things that are happening with the program. Again, congratulations on the ranking. I know that rankings are important, but what you're doing in action is even more so. And so we appreciate the partnership and look forward to continuing. Thanks so much.
Couldn't do it without you and OU Athletics being there every step of the way. And have a great rest of your day, and good luck with the challenges on your plate.
Thanks, Matt. We'll talk soon.
Be well.
When I think about Mike Mitchell, I think about focus and ferocity. I mean, he was incredibly ferocious on the defensive side of the football for Ohio, and he's one of the most focused players in football and beyond that I've ever covered. I mean, he knew exactly what he needed to do on the field, and he knew what he needed to do to set himself up for life beyond football. And so it's important that a current Bobcat visits with a former Bobcat who went on to a very successful pro football career. The Fort Thomas, Kentucky native, just on the other side of Cincinnati, and the second-round draft pick of the Oakland Raiders imparts some of his wisdom. Here's part one with Mike Mitchell.
I mean, I was excited to interview for like I heard you about the interview. Mike Mitchell was like, okay, NFL vet, second round, 47 pick in the NFL draft. That's what I could Google that, but I want to know, who is Mike Mitchell? Who are you? Like,
man, I was just talking to my mom about this, and it's important. I think it's super cool. So obviously I played football for a long time. That's what a lot of people know me as, but me and my mom were just talking about this, and I think it's so important. The core person of who you are. She was like, never lose that. The core person of who I am is one, I believe in God. I believe in Jesus, the God of Israel specifically, because I know there's a lot of gods out there that people believe in. I believe in loving myself, and then I believe in loving my family and trying to help people. So that's in a short way of saying it. That's what's important to me. That's the core of who I am. That's what I try to display and live my life as on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, football was a major factor of that. It's been a great blessing to my life. Brought me to Ohio University. I was able to meet a bunch of some of my best friends, and then obviously I did it for a long time professionally. Allowed me to see the world, and I'm sitting here retired as a 33-year-old. Not many can say that. It's not bad, but yes, to short answer your question, that's who I am.
All right. Leading up to that question, I want to know what led you to choosing Ohio to, further your pursuit and your academics and your athletic goals.
When I first was coming out of Ohio wasn't what you guys have, where it wasn't what you guys are right now. It didn't have the prestige. We definitely weren't winning as much. I can't remember the last time they had a winning season. But to be totally honest, Coach Burrows was a major factor. Obviously, Coach Solich being a winner, coaching in a national championship, and then just the honor of having him say that he wanted to give me a scholarship, that was a big factor. But I would say the two major factors was Coach Burrows. He spent a lot of time, he's the guy that came to my living room. He ended up being my position coach. Just the relationship that he developed with me over the course of the phone and coming to visit, and obviously the relationship that he developed with my dad. Coach Burrows is a guy that I still text today. And, I haven't played at Ohio University. And
I like it. Coach Burrows is cool.
Oh, my gosh,
like
over 10 years. And I'm telling you, so when I was younger, when I was like a freshman, sophomore, because he was a lot like my dad on me, like how he treated me, man, I hated Coach Burrows. Literally couldn't stand him. I used to tell my dad, I used to call my dad complaining, C7, Michael. But like, he used to always be on me about the details. But in all reality, that's why I ended up, obviously God is a major factor, but having good coaches like Coach Burrows, they were on me about the little details. So I thought he was just up my butt about it. But that's what made me a good pro, is because I learned to be on the details. And if you do the little things right, especially at that level, you can't really be off by the little things, because it's Drew Brees throwing the ball or Peyton Manning, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate and love Coach Burrows for that. At the time, like I said, I couldn't stand him probably my freshman and sophomore year. But once he broke me down, and I started to really do it his way, my experience was a lot better. But a major factor why I chose Ohio U was Coach Burrows, and then honestly, him and Coach Solich, aside from being one of my only offers, they were really one of the better offers. But they told me that I could play as a true freshman, and I went to a pretty highly touted high school, Fort Thomas Highlands. They, 18 or 19 state titles, usually ranked in the country. And we were ranked my senior year when I played there. So, they played on my ego of telling me that I could play as a freshman and no red shirt. So they did a good job with that, even though I didn't end up starting. But you know how that goes.
Yeah, Coach Burrows, I could say the same thing. Like, when I first got in here, I was like, I couldn't stand Coach Burrows. Like, I got to a point where I really couldn't stand Coach Burrows, but it got to a point where, like, it was like I had to buy in. I had to buy into what he was saying and what he was doing, because it's either you go buy in or it's like you go put yourself down the drain and just.
Oh, 100%. That just he coached you like that because he cared, and he really wanted you to be the best player. And thank God, like I said, I wouldn't have been a professional player if I didn't have him, because I had a freaking attitude. You talk about being a hothead, especially when I was younger. Oh my gosh, I had the worst attitude, and it took a very unique. At the same time he was up my butt, he did show me mercy and love, because there were so many times he should have just ripped my head off, and he didn't. So I'm grateful to him for that. I can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah. So speaking of coaches, Coach Solich, 2005, his first year, in Ohio. How was that, being his first team and his coming in?
It's crazy because I really saw our program grow a ton in my 4 years there. The winning wasn't really a thing. And one of the things that I always liked about Coach Solich, and one of the things that he said that I feel like you take something from every coach, or at least I have, that I've had the experience of playing for. He always used to say, "What are you all about?" And to me, I was a winner, and I knew Coach was a winner. And obviously that's why you guys are having the success you guys have now. But that's really what he said that stood out to me. And that's what the culture that we were trying to create was, a culture of, man, we're about guys that want to win. And I remember we had a good group of, I think they were sophomores or juniors when I was a freshman, Matt Muncy and those guys that led us. I remember we went to the bowl game for the first time in I don't know how many years, my sophomore year, and then just trying to maintain that momentum throughout. And then obviously Gerald Moore and those guys, I took so much pride in those guys when they beat Penn State. I felt like I helped raise Gerald. He was the next young safety after me and Steven, and them getting a big upset like that. So just to see the program go from not necessarily being a winning program to now it's all about winning, and the pride that I have to see TJ Carey and other guys playing in the league, Taylor Price after me, Levon Brazil, like, man, it's awesome to see where it is now versus, like you said, 2005. 2005, it was kind of harsh.
All right, since we talking about 2005, I mean, the game against Pitt, the first game, your first dub of the season, like, how was that? How was the atmosphere? Like, I see videos, but I want to know, like, personally from you, how was the atmosphere in that game?
It was still me and one of my best friends, and this is why college is important. It's because he's still one of my best friends to the day, Josh Phoebus. We were just at a golf outing within the last, I don't know, sometime over the summer, and we were talking about that victory. And out of all the games that we won, that was still one of the most exciting games because absolutely no one picked us to win that game. We were supposed to get drummed by 50. And man, Dion Byron, I mean, he obviously didn't become have a long professional career. He played in the league, but as far as being a college player and just being a prime time player, being a leader, like golly, that guy, especially in that game, showed out in a big way. And I felt like that was the beginning of the switch. Like even though we lost some games that year, that was really like the win that was like, I know for Muncie and Landon Cohen and Shane Yates, that was a switch like, hey, man, we can't just play with these teams. We can beat these teams.
Yeah.
And that kind of led us. I remember we upset Illinois also when I was in school there. We had a couple big wins, but like that was kind of the first one just for the way our defense played that game. I was only a freshman, so I was outside of running down on some kickoffs, and I think there might have been some packages Coach Burrows had me just so I wasn't complaining on the sideline. But I wasn't out there making like game-changing plays just yet. But the dress, be run down on kickoff and everything, playing, getting some snaps, just really in awe of Dion and the way our defense was playing. Because obviously he had both the touchdowns and then the one per game. I mean, it's hard. I'm hard pressed to think of a time I heard Peden Stadium louder. Is when he scored that touchdown per game.
I see everybody stormed the field and everything. I've been excited too.
It was amazing, bro. It was amazing. And I'm afraid. We were all walking around like we were all Dion Byron that night. We were just upset. Pitt.
Like the man. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm out here. I might have had a half a tackle on a kickoff, but you couldn't tell me that I didn't have 2 pick sixes.
All right. Speaking of picks, I mean, what is being here at OU, Ohio University? What was your best memory here? Playing football here.
To be honest, when I really think about Ohio University, sometimes it almost brings me to tears because obviously my life is significantly different now than it was then when I was 21 years old. But I just remember grinding in those summers, man, when it's not a lot of kids there. And I remember being out there in the summer, and it was always a handful of guys. Myself, Josh Phoebus, Mark Parson, Idris Lawrence, Steve Jackson, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of us who, we just enough wide receivers that we could get one-on-ones and just enough DBs that we could keep a rotation. But it was a small handful of guys, man. And I miss, and this is what I was talking about. This is what I miss. And it's what I miss about the league too. But it's those those handful of guys that I still keep in contact with to this day, because granted, I tried. I didn't do it as best as I could have, obviously with hindsight being 2020, I wasn't the best teammate as I could have been. But those handful of guys, man, you knew that they were all in and they were about winning and they wanted it just as bad as you. And like, it was 100% common goals. And that's why we still have that same strong bond and friendship to this day, because we put in those extra hours, you know what I'm saying? And we did it together. Those are my best memories, honestly. Obviously, I had success playing and there were some big wins, but, when I really think about, obviously, like I said, number one, God allowing Mr. Davis to see some talent in me and drafted me. But, it's that experience of grinding with those guys and making those friendships. That's what I appreciate most about Ohio University.
I feel like that's probably more of my best memories, just like the grind with, people that, okay, he got the same common goal. We're trying to get to the same place. I feel like that just brings people closer, because it's like we share common goals and we're trying to get to the same thing. So we're going to work together.
In common society, man, most people, if you talk, and I hate to say that we're different because, there's this most they say athletes think they're better, but it's not. But we are different because most regular people on a day-to-day basis don't experience adversity. They just don't. And then especially on the way that we do, whether it's weights or running that, like my dad, and I love my dad, he passed away, but he used to always talk about hard work, but it's so very few people know what that 19th sprint feels like when you had 20 40s. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So only guys that really knew, and that's why that bond is so unique, because you went through that adversity and you survived it together.
Yeah.
That's why, 11 years later, after you haven't made a tackle together, you can still pick up the phone and talk to each other because you know what that 19th sprint is like. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all ran Jeff before? I know y'all ran Jeff. Jeff
Uh,
Hill?
oh yeah, for sure. I couldn't hear you for a second. Yeah, Coach Sano was. I know Dak's running it now. I'm sure he's torturing.
Yeah. Sano's still there too.
We had Coach Sano, so I was one of his favorite guys to make think about it. I think that's why I hit so hard. My core was definitely sturdy.
Think about it.
Oh my gosh.
Get down and think about it.
That was his favorite. Now me and Josh Stephens were one of his favorite guys to make think about it. So I'm grateful to him. I hope he's doing well. He's another good one. Obviously, you spend a lot of time with the strength coach.
Yeah. This question right here. This one I really want to know. You're going to your senior year. Getting ready for the draft, and being projected going 6th or 7th round. What was your thoughts? What was your mind going, like, preparing for the draft and being projected to go that late?
I remember so I tell the story all the time. I remember Matt Mortensen had kind of kept it going. He was one of the old equipment managers there. God bless Matt Mortensen. He's a godsend. He's a great guy. But I remember I had this thing called 5 or 50, and I really got it from my dad. But long story short, my junior year, I got a shoulder injury that kind of made my draft stock, because after our sophomore year, we had went to the MAC East Championship. I had played well as a sophomore, so my stock was doing pretty decent.
Yeah.
And I hurt my shoulder and ended up having surgery. Long story short, I watched it fall and I was paying way too much attention to that stuff at the time. But I watched it fall and I was kind of depressed, and I forget what time it was during the year, but it ended up being exactly like 5 months before the season. And my dad was like, yo, you got to get out of this funk. You still got 5 months before the season starts. And this is right before my senior year. I was rehabbing my shoulder. And he is like, you got 5 months. And my dad, was a hardworking man, worked in management at General Electric, but he loved baseball. He wanted to be a professional baseball player. He said, or you can end up getting a job like me, doing not something that you love, but just doing something that you like, something that pays the bills for the next 50 years of your life. So I remember for that entire season, and even early until my NFL career, till they literally started finding me for it, I used to write 5 or 50 on my wristband. There's just like a reminder. I got 5 months to get right, or do something different for 50 years. And thank God for my dad for that, because he said it into a way that I could understand it. A lot of the things he said, I have to look back on now that I'm older. I get them now, but as he was saying it, it's like, I didn't get it. It took for maybe somebody else or some years for me to get it, but that was one of the things he said when he said it. I got it, and man, we rode that thing out. I prepared properly. I got healthy, and I remember it was the biggest I had ever been. I remember they were thinking about moving me to linebacker, because I remember I ate weights that offseason. Like one of my best friends from college is Joe Scipio. He was a walk-on fullback. So if you're lifting with a fullback, you are getting strong that offseason. I remember I was walking around at probably like 216, 217. Like I was a big boy. And I remember going into that season like, yo, I'm gonna just wreak havoc on as much people as I can, because I want to continue my professional career, and I want to give it everything I had. So I knew I put in the work that year, and thank God I was able to stay remotely healthy my senior year and put some good games together. Because that's honestly how it happened. I had a pretty good pro day, but it wasn't until we were playing Ohio State. I'll never forget asking Mr. Davis how they found me, but they were watching Ohio State. I think they were scouting Brian Robisky. He was a wide receiver. And I was having a pretty decent game that game. And they were like, yo, who is this kid out here, laying these hits on these kids? And they ended up watching a couple more games. And it was like, yo, this is what he does. And that's how they ended up seeing me, and they watched a couple more games, and the rest is kind of history. But it's amazing how you find out it's random.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like they weren't even looking for me. They're actually looking at someone else. But thank God that was the game I decided to play A.
Would you say that being getting hurt and at 5 and 50, would you say that changed your mindset or motivated you to, do better and all that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it was a game changer because really I knew I was down to my last 5 months.
Yeah.
It was it. I was going into my senior year, and I had such inspiration. Literally, he's one of those guys, Landon Cohen. I watched him get drafted in the 7th round. So it was like, man, there's outside of being a believer and having hope, I literally saw one of my buddies do it. So I was like, it's possible. And then with the blessing on my life is having a great father. I think that's what you think about what's really wrong with the country. I think a lot of it is lack of fatherhood. I had a fantastic father. He said those words to me, and I was able to really understand what he meant. And if you talk to any of my coaches, I mean, there was a significant switch in, I'm still a hothead. That never changed. But the way that I went about, I knew I wanted to be a professional, and I tried to develop my body. I probably gained, 10, 12 pounds in that off season, because I literally ate weights. And I was like, I have to be as big and as fast as I could be. So obviously, to do that, it takes, extreme motivation, dedication, and focus. And I was able to do that over the course of 5 months. And, Sano's weightlifting program, if you do it, I mean, you're going to reap the rewards. And there was times I would do extra and things of that nature, but
I feel like I'm trying to get big myself, because I like hitting too. Like, I like destroying.
Save your money. Save your money. Save your money, young defender. Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you how to make a lot of money and save a lot of money. Get the ball. Because even if you hit them and the ball comes out, it's the same as if you just tapped it with your hand and you didn't have a shoulder surgery for it. So just play the ball. Don't worry about hitting. And that's coming from an experienced guy that, the Bible says, let strangers talk about what you did. I think you could Google my tape. I don't want to talk about it, but I was okay at hitting. Get the ball, man. They pay the guys to get the ball. You play a lot longer. Your body's a little bit healthier.
I understand.
They take less of your money. If nowadays, if they teach, I'm convinced they teach wide receivers. If you get hit too hard, just lay there for 2 seconds. We'll get a flag.
I seen the little interview you had when you were saying like how it's soft around here, like the NFL getting soft and everything like that.
Me and my brother joke around. It's a little bit of a joke. They said there's a little bit of truth to every joke. I was like a 90s football player trapped in, my era, my body. Because I was definitely, I like the combative side of football. I think we all are, especially as defenders, maybe not offensive guys. I meant offensive guys, some wide receivers. One of my best friends, I won't say his name, just because I don't want him to think I'm embarrassing him, but literally hated contact. And this is a dude that played 10 years in the league.
Yeah.
But just hated contact. And so it was amazing. But when you're super fast and, 6'3" with great ball skills, you can do that when you play offense. But for defenders, man, you kind of gotta like the violence. You know what I'm saying? At least I did, especially in the era before, it was weird, when they changed the rules kind of like midway through my career probably like year 6 or 7 is when they really started to be like, head injuries. And I get it, thank God they did, because no one wants CTE. But I just wish they didn't take your money. Like, golly, it's bad enough the team got 15 yards. You literally took $30,000 from me.
You got to hit a lot of fairways and you got to hit a lot of greens to be able to move up in the ranks of professional golf. Peyton White hit a lot of fairways and hit a lot of greens in his time with the Green and White. The Huntersville, North Carolina native, that's just north of Charlotte, went to the NCAA regionals as a Bobcat, and now he's getting even closer to that PGA Tour, huh? Always wave as you knock those birdies down. Peyton White's doing, and now he visits with the current Bobcat golfer.
Hi, my name is Zach Crawford. I'm a golfer on the men's golf team here at Ohio University, and I'll be interviewing Peyton White, which is a former golfer for Ohio University. So the first question is, why did you choose to attend Ohio University?
Hey, Zach. Yeah, good to be here. Why did I choose Ohio? Well, one of the things you do as a student athlete is you always take a tour of the place. So you get to see kind of the golfers that play there, and you get to see the campus, and you get to kind of get a feel for the atmosphere of everything. And that was one of the things that I loved right away at OU, was just the atmosphere around campus, and just the general perception I had of the team was that everybody was pretty tightly knit, pretty close to one another. And we were able to all get along pretty well right away, and just enjoyed it right away. I don't know, something about going to Athens and getting to see the place just makes you fall in love pretty quick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know exactly how that is. I mean, when I came down on my visit and was with all you guys, I mean, it was just really comfortable. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
So how, like, over your 4 years, how did you grow and develop as a college golfer here at Ohio University? Yeah,
I mean, a lot of growing as a golfer also comes with like growing as a person too. And I feel like you come to Athens at, bright-eyed little freshman, and you kind of figure it out from there, right? You come in and you don't really know the ropes, you don't really know what's going on, and then you learn that you have to implement time management, which sounds wild at 17 or 18, whatever you might be. And then you learn how to balance golf and class and social life and all of the other things that come with being a student athlete. And you learn to perfect that and see how everything works for you and how you are able to fit in all of those things. And sometimes you can't fit in all those things, and you have to decide which is going to take a back seat, and hopefully you find out what's more important to you and kind of make that your premier focus while you're there.
So what have kind of been your favorite memories being a student athlete?
Some of my favorite memories were definitely with my teammates, just traveling. Like there's nothing like traveling 6 or 7 strong on an airplane at 5 o'clock in the morning when you're driving up to Columbus, and then you have to fly out and you get in and you're just with all the boys and just having a great time. And then you get there and you prep for the tournaments together and you figure everything out and just kind of go from there. It's one of those things where you don't necessarily have that again after college. You are more independent and you have to kind of figure things out for yourself. But when you kind of have coach telling you where to be and when to be there, and you take that stress off of yourself and you're able to just show up and have fun. Like that was just some of the best times.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. So is there anything you miss about being a college athlete?
Yes, a lot of things. No, life after college is great as well. But I mean, college golf were some of my favorite 4 years. Just being able to kind of do what you want when you want, and be able to obviously put a lot of time towards your craft of golf, but also be able to balance it. So finally, with learning and school and hanging out and doing things your own way, right? And figuring that out for yourself and seeing what it is that you want to do. And being in Athens, people always ask me how Athens is, people that didn't go to school at OU, and it's a tough place to describe. Like it's incredible. I don't know. There's something about just the atmosphere. There's something in it. So there's something about being in Athens and walking everywhere, right? Like now you have to Uber everywhere, or during COVID you stay at home. So we don't have that anymore either. So it's just, there's something about walking everywhere on campus and walking everywhere off campus, and playing golf with the boys every day, going and playing Athens Country Club. I mean, it's a fantastic place. We had a good time.
Oh yeah, for sure. What was your favorite course that you played at in college?
We got a chance to go out to Seattle and play Chambers Bay, which hosted a U.S. Open and a USAM and stuff like that. And we were able to go out there and go spend actually an extra day or two out there and kind of explore and play some of the golf courses out there. But the place was really cool. It's on this massive body of water with these trains running through it. And it's just like this cut out of the side of a hill place that is just second to none, that we really got a sweet chance to play like pretty close to right after when Jordan Spieth won the US Open out there, when DJ missed a couple putts. But no, it was cool to see an event on TV and then play it right after and get the chance to see how it plays, when we're pegging it out there.
So how did being a student athlete shape you as a person?
In a lot of ways. I mean, it's something that I always fall back onto when I, I'm trying to figure out something, is that when you're a student athlete, you're balancing so many things. You're balancing school, golf, social life, all of this stuff. And now playing professional golf, my primary focus and my job is also golf. So there's no more school. So it's massively easier in that regard. But there's also nobody that is kind of in charge of me, telling me what to do, which is good and bad. I mean, if you don't have that self-drive and that self-determination that you kind of learned while being a student athlete, then you're kind of high and dry, and you're probably not going to figure it out. You know what I mean? So it's just like one of those things where it teaches you to be independent while also working as a team, right? And the biggest thing in teamwork is being able to figure stuff out on your own as well. So that's all kind of driven me to where I am today. And it's just balancing everything in college just felt like so much at the time. It really does. And then balancing everything outside of college seems like it should be easier. It might be harder, but it's just different. It's an incredible preparation by being a student athlete.
What were some of your favorite spots on campus and in Athens?
We always enjoyed going to Athens Country Club, which is just off of campus. Great 9-hole course to go play some golf, and it was just fun playing with the boys. We enjoyed the social scene on Court Street. The CI was one of our favorite places to gather, camaraderie and figuring that stuff out. But we also spent a lot of time in the library and doing our studies. Everything about Athens is great, man. The bricks.
Yeah.
Love the bricks.
What did finishing your collegiate career by qualifying for and competing in the NCAA regional mean to you? And what was that experience like?
Yeah, so I think I was the first person since 2002 to do that, and the person who did it in 2002 was my swing coach, and probably one of the big reasons I went to OU was a guy I started working with on my golf game when I was probably 15 or 16. He went to OU and he kind of set a lot of the records there, and made a big impact on the program, and made it to regionals his senior year in 2002. And then that was one of my biggest goals while I was there, was to make it to regionals, hopefully as a team, if not as an individual. And to be able to do that was really cool because it's a selection process, right? So there's 10 individuals that make it outside of teams per region, I believe. And so to be selected for that and get the chance to compete in that was awesome. I mean, got to go up to play at Purdue, and their golf course was unbelievable. It's such a good test, such a good field, and having the chance to potentially go to a national championship and represent Ohio along the way was awesome. We had a great time.
Was there ever a point like in your collegiate career where like you kind of realized like I want to do this for a living, and like really started to focus on pursuing that dream of being one day on the PGA Tour?
Yeah. So going into my senior year, we had to do an internship for the business school. So I interned at a bank in Columbus and did not play much golf between junior and senior year. And it kind of made me realize that desk job wasn't for me at the time. So it was kind of tough at the time because I wasn't playing much golf and I didn't feel like I was preparing necessarily for my senior year season like I should be. But it was one of the better things that happened to me, to be honest, because I was able to take a step back and kind of take a break from the game for a second and see that working behind a desk at the current moment wasn't what I wanted to be doing. And it gives you kind of a perspective on just while you're playing golf and while you're doing it for a living, like this is most people's hobbies. Like a bad day on the golf course, it could be worse. So it kind of gave me that perspective, which I think helped me enjoy my senior year more too, and enjoy being on the golf course a little bit more. And I didn't really have that burnt out effect that a lot of people can get that 4th year of college when you've been playing golf every day, all day, and you're kind of grinding on that. And then you're just kind of ready for a break. I kind of was forced into having that before my senior year.
Okay. So who has been the biggest influence on your golf career so far?
There's probably 2 people. One would be my swing coach, who set all the records at OU and went to regionals in 02 and stuff like that. I mean, he got me up there, and without him, I'm not sure I'd be playing college golf. I kind of didn't think I was going to, and then stumbled upon OU and the great Bob Cooley, and he recruited me and gave me an opportunity to play, which was, I don't know if I deserved it at the time, but it was huge to get the chance to play somewhere like OU. And then also just my dad. He's always been good from the start of, when you put your mind to something, you're going to achieve it, and if you're not going to, then you're gonna darn well try to. So he was great along the way, and he's always supportive, but gives me a kick in the butt when I need it, and kind of takes a step back when I need that too. So both of them have been great.
What is the process of turning pro like?
It's interesting because it's any other sport, for the most part, you're getting drafted or you're not. It's kind of cut and dry. Can you make it or can you not? And golf, you kind of get the time to figure out for yourself if you can make it. And it's just different because it's individual. You're not on a team. There's no coach. There's nobody funding you. So you're kind of on your own in that regard, and you're left to figure out how to make money while doing it. And money can get scarce sometimes at the lower levels of the PGA Tour system, for sure. But it's such a journey. Like the highs are so high and the lows are rather low. It's, you're living day to day and you're trying to figure it out, but then you see a little bit of success and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to keep going. And you're just kind of waiting for that day that you kind of put it all together. And it's just a lot more work too. There's grinding in golf, and then there's making it a full-time job, essentially. So you're putting in 40, 50 hours a week. There's a lot of travel. So I'm gone, barring COVID, like probably 30, 32 weeks of the year traveling. So you get pretty good at learning what gate you are in an airport, and learning how to rent a car and do all that stuff. But no, it's wild for me, when I first graduated, I was 21 and I got status on Latin American tour. So I was 21 years old, traveling by myself to countries that I couldn't pronounce and trying to figure it out that way for 14 weeks. So you just get thrown in the middle of it, and you learn to adapt, and you learn to travel at a young age. And I don't know, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. What has been the biggest moment of your professional career to date?
So my second or third tournament that I played in, I ended up winning. I didn't really think that was going to happen. I think I kind of surprised myself in a way. But I ended up winning that, and I ended up beating Brendan Todd, who's what did he finish, 3rd or 4th on the FedEx Cup this year. So he was back down in the mini tours trying to figure his game back out, and won that tournament. So that was nice. And then a few weeks ago, I Monday qualified into Springfield for the Corn Ferry event, and ended up finishing 22nd, which got me into the next week in Chicago, which was just pretty cool to do something like that in my first Corn Ferry event. So that was really fun. I think the successes kind of lead you to knowing that you belong in certain places, right? So like when I won one of my first events, I felt like I could really compete with the guys out at the mini tour level, right? Which is tough coming out of college when you're not drafted, when you're on your own. You don't really know where you're supposed to be or if you can cut it, and that's kind of left up to you. And so the successes at certain levels kind of tell you that you're able to do it, you're able to be there, and kind of keeps you going.
What are your future goals for your professional career?
The goals, we always try to keep rather high. I mean, why not, right? So I would like to, COVID's kind of put, again, a damper on everything. Next year, I'd like to be on the Corn Ferry Tour, getting a glimpse of Monday qualifying and playing well in one of the events. I think I can, hang out there pretty well. And so just next year, I think I'll probably have to go back to Canada and try to get my card that way, but hopefully do that. And then in the next couple of years, I'd really strive to be a winner on the PGA Tour I think if you set your goals high enough, then, you know, you might just be able to achieve them.
I'm looking forward to following you on your journey. I mean, it's some impressive stuff.
Thanks, bro.
So what advice would you give to the current guys on the team?
I think for one, enjoy yourself. Like, it's different this year, but you're in Athens. You're with your boys. You're hanging out. You're playing golf. You're getting to do what everybody wishes they could do in college. You know, you're getting to manage all of the fun things that come with those 4 years at OU. You're at an awesome institution on a great golf team with some of your best friends that you'll ever have. Second, I'd just be super close with your teammates. You know, I mean, there's always times where you're not going to get along with some of the boys, but those are your boys for life. You know, like a lot of my teammates now are some of my best friends to this day. The bond that you make 4 years of college while you're all trying to figure your life out together is just, if you make it through that, you can probably make it through anything. And then third, when it comes to golf, I would just be fearless. Why wouldn't you? What do any of us really have to lose on the golf course? So I'd just be fearless with it. I mean, you saw what Bryson did this week, and the fact that he's hitting it far is pretty cool, but the fact that he's pulling driver with a 6-shot lead on 16 at Winged Foot is just, it's a props to how fearless he is. And I think we can all take a lesson from that. So be fearless. Why wouldn't we?
So that'll do it for another edition of First and Finest. Thanks to Matt Cacciato from Ohio Sports Administration. Thanks to Bobcat legends Mike Mitchell and Peyton White. Our next episode of First and Finest, finally, football. We'll get into all the infotainment that is Bobcat football 2020, Bobcats present and Bobcats past. So join us for that. Thanks to everybody who helped make this possible. Hopefully you enjoyed all the infotainment. I'm Russ Eisenstein, and this is Bobcat TV.